You're not weak. You're not missing out on some secret technique that everyone knows but you. You're just stuck in your head. I used to think that the way out of negative thinking was some magical technique or some overnight fix. But that wasn't the truth. You've heard all of the cliche advice tossed around the internet by now. Don't give in to your negative thoughts. Ignore them. Don't pay them any attention. But the question remains, how do you actually do that when those negative thoughts are much more louder than the positive ones? When your mind gets flooded with them, it feels like the negative voice is the only one that wants to be heard. So what do you do about that? That's the challenge. And that's exactly what I'm going to walk you through in this very conversation. But first, let's talk about why we get too deep into our thoughts and why they start to eventually control us if we don't learn how to deal with them. So imagine for a moment that you're locked away in a prison cell where every bar is made up of your own negative thoughts. And pacing back and forth outside the cell is the guard. These are the negative emotions that reinforce those negative thoughts. They're making damn sure you don't get too bold enough to move too far beyond those walls of negativity that your subconscious mind is trapped in between. This metaphor isn't that much of a stretch. I'm not being bombastic here. In a way, it's exactly how it feels to be held prisoner by those very thoughts. But today is your lucky day, my friend, because you are breaking out of this invisible prison. I'm going to show you how true masters slip past those bars to manifest the money, the success, and all of the relationships that they want. But we're first going to put this game on easy mode. Now, your brain is wired to notice the negative out there in the world by default. It's not a flaw in your design. It's not a flaw in the human design. It's a built-in survival program. For most of human history, spotting danger meant staying alive. That meant depending on fear to alert you, scanning your environment for threats, and paying far more attention to what could go wrong rather than what could go right. Again, this is the human design, not your human design. We're all subject to this. The subconscious mind comes pre-programmed to survive, not to thrive. That was perfect if you lived in the prehistoric era or even if you lived in the 1800s, out there on the American frontier in the Wild West. But it's 2025. The biggest daily threat that you face in the present day is, I don't know, getting cut off in traffic, double texting somebody before they respond, or if your barista at Starbucks spells your name wrong on your latte cup or something like that. Point is, the survival program is still going strong regardless of the actual demand for it because it interprets whatever is new, whatever is unfamiliar as potential danger. So it's starting to get in the way when you're trying to make more money, when you're trying to start a business, when you're going after your goals, or if you're simply trying to stay in a healthy relationship long enough to make an Instagram post about it. Simply because it's new, because it's unfamiliar, it's getting flagged by the ego. We are in the safest time period of human history ever. But that survival wiring stuck around in all of us long after our biggest threats stopped being wild animals. Now, the biggest threats are self doubt, self sabotage, and negative thinking. If that negative voice that you hear in your mind is much more louder than it's ever been when you set out to change your life for the better, that isn't some anomaly. It's the loudest because your subconscious mind believes it's being helpful. It's doing what it's supposed to do until you give it different instructions. We're going to change that default programming to prioritize thriving over surviving. Everything that you want, the life of your dreams, freedom, peace, respect, money, is on the other side of that prison wall. And it's your job to make it over there. Nobody else can climb over these walls but you. So pay close attention today, and I'll show you how to walk out of the invisible prison for good. And the first lesson of many is that you can't just silence negative thoughts by force. I'm sure you noticed that by now, because your mind has been trained to give them the microphone to protect you. The shift in your identity starts with your thinking, and that changes as soon as you master how to center your attention, how to focus your attention on what you want. Think of your awareness as having two screens within your field of vision, right? One is the inner screen, your thoughts and your feelings. The other is the outer screen, what's actually happening right in front of your eyes outside of your mind. Most people flip unconsciously between the two and never think twice about it. They allow themselves to be pulled in either direction. But mastery comes when you can calibrate both at once, matching up your inner screen to your outer response to it. That moment of balance is what allows you to see the world through a positive mindset. Now, once you're centered, once you're balanced, you will suddenly realize that you have a choice, that you've always had a choice. It's quite simple when you take a step back and look at the big picture. You have two options. You can place your attention on the negative, or you can redirect it to the positive. The challenge here is that your ego has been trained to focus on the negative because it feels safer there, as I previously said. It's comfy. Yeah, maybe you're miserable in the identity that you have or the way of life that you're living, but it's safe. That's the way the ego prefers it, working as intended. It's tricky because it feels extra comfortable, even when it's a little bit painful, simply because it's familiar. That's why the negative voices in your mind always seem much more louder. But when you center yourself, you step into the power position. You're not going to continue to be at the mercy of where your thoughts want to pull you. You can witness both screens at the same time and then consciously choose which one you want to give your energy to. That's the doorway out of the prison of negative thinking. Understanding this first lesson will make the rest of this process much more easier than you think. So, where do these negative thoughts come from exactly? Well, negative thoughts don't just appear out of nowhere. They're fueled by deeper, suppressed emotions. Fear is extremely common and the one that we're most acquainted with, but it's the subtle emotions like anger that will really repel whatever your biggest goals are in life. Each and every single emotion carries a different lens that shapes the way you see reality, the way you see the world. If anger is sitting inside of you, life will look like constant frustration. If fear is running the show, every single situation will feel threatening and unsafe. If guilt is lingering in the background of your mind, the world will look like temptation and punishment is waiting around every corner just for you. And shame, that makes you feel unworthy of taking the very first baby steps into the roles that you've been imagining for yourself. Nobody in their right mind would openly admit to any of these emotions. And that's exactly why they stick around. That's exactly why they might be blocking your ability to obtain success in the most important areas of your life. Now, let's take a step back and place that concept into our little framework that we're building here. Every single thing begins with a thought. And when enough thoughts build up, they become a feeling. The emotion is your unconscious response to that feeling. If you want to change your thoughts about something or someone, you have to first address the feelings and emotions that are generating behind the scenes. When these emotions sit beneath the surface, deep inside your subconscious mind, they don't just influence your thoughts, they control them. They color your entire perspective of the world. They'll turn neutral events into reasons to stay afraid or to stay angry about it. It's like you're wearing sunglasses and forgetting that you even have them on. Except these special edition frames are made of your belief systems. The circumstances happening outside of you isn't the problem. It's just that the lens that you're looking at them through is a little bit tainted. Think for a moment from this perspective. I'm going to paint a picture. As if you've been putting in long hours at your job, giving your best effort, and then the promotion that has your name written all over it, the announcement comes, someone else gets it. In that moment, disappointment mixes with anger and a belief system starts to form. No matter how hard I work, people will overlook me. This was me at one point in my life, even, believe it or not. If you deeply believe that simple statement, that single line of code, that single thought becomes supercharged with resentment and it doesn't just fade away with time. It replays over and over again through your thoughts. You carry the sting of being wrong, and every time you think about it, you're feeding that anger that keeps you tied to that experience, to that reality. Everyone has wronged you through this lens, right? Your manager, the person who got promoted, even the company itself. You hate the logo now. Without realizing it, your energy is not broadcasting confidence and charisma anymore. It's broadcasting anger, frustration, and failure. And the algorithm of reality kicks right on in because that frequency dictates what's coming next. Instead of attracting accolades and awards, your subconscious keeps pulling in more situations where you feel overlooked and underappreciated. Not because you're meant to be ignored, but because the anger from that one event is still writing the screenplay of your life's movie. Now, let's not get it twisted. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Anger can be a positive emotion when it's used as fuel, but then quickly released. Not allowing it to become a part of your identity, that is. That energy is going to spark something in you and it's going to push you to get moving. It's going to push you to change yourself instead of staying comfortable in mediocrity. But if you hold on to it, it'll begin to dominate your thoughts and it will start running the show. If you're looking at reality through the lens of negative emotions, your awareness narrows down to seeing just that and only that, a world full of mistreatment and disappointment. You're going to end up reliving the same experiences because you're seeing life from the inside of the prison of negative thoughts. So take a step back and see it for what it is. You're the warden of this prison. At any moment you can choose to release your mind from it and start mastering the art of seeing the world through positive beliefs. And then that's going to reshape your positive feelings and the positive thoughts that come along with it. You don't have to worry about ripping out every single bar of the prison all at once. When you notice a belief that's blocking the life that you're trying to create or the money you're trying to receive, stop for a moment and ask yourself one question. Well, two questions. What is this belief? And what do I gain by holding on to this emotion that's stirring up? Once you see that it's clearly not getting you where you want to be, what are you going to do about it? This is where you choose to let go. I'm going to hone in on that feeling of anger just a little bit more, if you don't mind, because most people can admit when they're afraid, but not when they're in a constant state of being angry as hell. Let me shift your attention to a mechanism called pendulums. A pendulum is collective energy that feeds on attention. It loves it. It's delicious. The more people who give it energy, the stronger it swings. And when you get caught up in its momentum, you start attracting the very energy that the pendulum feeds off of, instead of what you actually want to achieve. The sneakiest emotion of them all is anger. It's because most people won't admit that they're carrying it around, but it shows up everywhere. Collective anger is the easiest pendulum to get caught up in because most of our society has slowly leaned into the cancel culture way of living life. Everybody's pissed off. You see it everywhere on the news, in politics, on social media, even in your relationships. It's like people are keeping score of every single wrong that was done to them, as if holding on to resentment is some kind of badge of honor. Speaking of badges, when I was in the Army, whenever we deployed to a hostile area, you became eligible for a combat patch. It was a badge that went right here, right on the right shoulder, as a symbol that you've taken part in actual conflict. I remember how proud I was to get mine, and it appears that our culture is headed in a very similar direction when it comes to negative emotions. Right here, wearing them proud on their sleeves. The problem is this: that way of thinking is not going to protect you. It keeps attracting more and more experiences to feel angry and wronged about. If you ever experience this, the energy of the pendulum has hijacked your subconscious mind and is steering your actual intentions way out of control. Holding on to those negative thoughts makes you think that you're protecting yourself from the pendulum, but you're actually fusing yourself right along to it. You go where it goes, back and forth, and you're going to start replaying the story of what happened. You're going to feel the sting of being wronged. You're going to find other angry people to complain with, and then you're going to be secretly behind closed doors, feeding on the hope of getting a little hit of righteous revenge against whatever or whoever crossed you. Here's the paradox though: even if it's not the same person or the same situation showing up again in your life, new people, new situations with the same exact energy will walk right on in to trigger the same cycle over and over again until you finally release the negative emotion that's right on along inside of you. That's why it's the most nuanced of them all. Because an emotion like anger usually shows up when you feel like you didn't get exactly what you expected. Sometime in the past, you gave your time, your energy, your best effort to something you really wanted, and it didn't get noticed. You didn't get what you wanted. You thought that there would be some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of payoff. And when it didn't come, the frustration set in. That gap between what you wanted and what you got, that's where anger slips in. Letting go of that emotion is what breaks that nasty loop. In fact, whenever you hear the term letting go moving forward, point it to the direction of your negative emotions, not to the experiences that you want out of life. Surrendering the emotion frees up your mind, your thoughts, and your attention so you can actually notice the beauty and the opportunities already around you. The moment you release that negative emotion, you just remove the bars off the prison door. Next, you actually have to walk out of that prison cell right on into freedom. The way out isn't going to involve doubling down on fighting your thoughts or pretending like they're not there anymore. The new way of living, the new blueprint, is to acknowledge the feeling first. Instead of suppressing it or complaining about it to anyone that'll listen or distracting yourself until it fades away, you're just gonna stop and slow down for a moment just to acknowledge it. Just naming it, just naming what you feel is the first step out of the cell. We automatically do this when we're in physical pain. If something's hurting us, we go to the doctor and we tell them what's bothering us. We don't ignore what's bothering us, thinking that it's going to go away typically. So treat your thoughts with the very same level of attention and you'll never go wrong. In the moment of taking that very first baby step, you're going to start to see the truth. It's just your energy, not your identity. It's not who you are. Anger doesn't mean that you're automatically an angry person. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. Guilt doesn't mean you're toxic and broken. They are just emotions moving through you. And when you stop allowing them to live rent free in your head and your heart, you stop being ruled by them. And that's when the negative thoughts stop overriding all of the good things already in your life. That's when you finally recognize that you stepped out of the invisible prison that your thoughts once convinced you was real. With a little bit more practice, with a little bit more patience, with a little bit more consistency, I can promise you something amazing is going to happen next. The grip that these emotions have on you gets weaker and weaker because the negative thoughts aren't hijacking your entire perspective of life anymore. Fear doesn't get the final word, it doesn't get the final say so. Guilt doesn't keep dragging you back into the past. Anger doesn't keep you stuck in being second or third best. You become the warden again. The guards lose their authority, and you realize that they were never in charge to begin with. This is where the new you, the new perspective on your goals is birthed, and that's what puts your mind back on track for good this time. Money, success, relationships. It's the same game plan for each and every one. When you release the negative emotions, you clear up the static that's been jamming your signal that's going out to the world. You can now see and hear opportunities you couldn't see and hear before. And that's when life starts to flow without so much forced effort from before you knew this. You are free. You are always free to create your life as you see fit, which means you're already free to receive it. That's the secret that all the masters know. And now you do too. And if you're ready to take the steps to actually live this, apply to work with me one-on-one inside my INNERVERSE program, where we'll reshape your subconscious mind for success. This is my 5-week self-transformation program that's filled to the brim with advanced knowledge and techniques just for creators, just for professionals, just for entrepreneurs, and anyone and everyone who's ready to level up their mind for success in every area that actually matters to you. If this opportunity speaks to you, and I know it does, click on the link down below in the description and book a call today. I am Shaun, and you are neither here nor there. Thank you for sharing your time and space with me.